This is not going to be a long one, but it's fun to do this particular one just because it's got pictures of a painter that a lot of people have never seen, Alfred Bricher. And so, and for me, what makes it fun is that he's from Portsmouth. He's born in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And so he's one of my fellow New Hampshireites. Anyway, can you talk about the form discussion relative to master seascapes? And this is a Batali about form. I probably could have answered this in about 2 words to Norma, but I thought it was worthy to get Bricher out there for anybody who hasn't seen him yet. He's a Hudson River School painter. Basically, I often thought of as the last of the great ones. Anyway, when you have a large body of calm, flat water, like in some of the paintings of Alfred Bricher, for example, how do you address form of the calm water? It may seem self-evident to some, but the idea of form, the larger ideas about form, I think ought to be addressed, and so this is a nice vehicle for that. One can see the form in the rocks, ships, clouds, even the large waves, but it's not clear how to think about the form in the large areas of calm water. And it's interesting. I know it might seem funny in some ways, and Norma, I'm laughing at it, but don't take me wrong. Because it's one of those first questions when you're first being introduced to form. You're so busy doing round this and whatever that, before you know it, you haven't any idea how to do this one little old missing piece, and that's flat. All right, so let's just talk about simple forms that she's already mentioned. You all can see the big, which you may as well call it the cube of this rock up here. You can also see the sense of rounding. There's a feeling of, now it's not just in the silhouette, but it's in the gradation. So most of what happens to create form is gradation of values, right? Talk to Ang, talk to anybody, but just do it yourself. So you should sit down and just simply out of your head try to draw a ball and model it up. Articulate the shadow line and then find the form. Make it do what a ball does. That's just basic stuff. So the waves, she's talked about the waves. The waves are just, these are tubes, right? The inside of a tube. If you were to cut open one of the canvas tubes and have the inside, that's it. And you see the gradation from lighter to darker. And so there's a series of these, some smaller, some bigger, some more impressive as form and some less so. The clouds have, the sky itself, the entire sky itself has a very definite sense of being flat as a phenomenon. Still, the forms are all over the place here. There are greater masses here. You know, I've often said that the hand is a bowl, but it's so easy to see the little form of the fingertip. And then you miss the tube here. But you miss the bowl almost completely. Almost everybody misses the idea that this is a big form. Clouds give you that idea, okay? So one of his pictures, he lived most of his life, I guess, in Staten Island or down in New York somewhere. But this is a perfect example of what she's talking about in terms of the boats. You see the form on the side of the boat. You see the big cupping form. Again, that's like the inside of the hand, the cupping. You see all these forms. But this one here is the flat one, right? Now you see there's a value in the front. You see there's a value in the back. But it's basically what it takes to avoid making that not flat, to keep it flat, I better say it that way, is to just don't gradate at different speeds. Now this is a concept that is employed by Max Meldrum again. But the gradation from here to here to here to here to here, never mind these aberrations, by the way, but the gradation from the front here, which is such and such a dark, to the back here, such and such light, if you grade it without any sudden shifts, it won't take form. But if you have it going and then all of a sudden it starts getting light really fast, it'll tend to look like it's going over the top or whatever. But flatness is a form, okay? And that's how you address it. You address it by not making sure it doesn't look wavy. And how do you do that? Just don't make deviations in the value. Make the value move slowly, gradually, at the same speed the whole way across it. If you follow I'm saying speed, it means from darker to lighter if there is such a thing, right? Sometimes it's just flat. Like a wall can just often look virtually flat. Almost never really is. But it's the same thing with the sky here. There's a general feeling that this is one big flat thing. It's just flat. It's like you dropped a curtain. And then it has things happening on it. Yeah, okay, so we don't have to, as I said, this isn't complex. Most people should get this sort of right away, I think. Now, so even if you have waves though on an ocean, so all these cups, all these inside tubes sitting along here, you also have this great sense of flatness here. And you have to figure out how to maintain that. But mostly, if it isn't doing it, you find out where the values are creating a hump. By the way, there are a lot of places. I don't think any of the pictures I have by Bricher are much showing it. But if you look at Waugh and some others, they have a way of making big ocean rolls and waves within the rolls. So there's form on top of form on top of form, right? And yet all the waves taken together or whatever, they may make a great, simple, sweeping mass of form. I'm just talking, so, you have to work things like this out. The head is like that, right? The head is an egg, except that it has deviations on it. The chin is really a variation on the simplicity of the egg. And then all the different parts of forms on top of the big form. You have to grasp it that way because that's the way it is. Actually, Ang said, why do you make it out of three little forms when you can make it out of one big one? That is very apropos of this here. Like, that's where I first recognized in a hand he did. I wonder who that was. It was one of his portraits. It might not have been, actually. It might have been one of the odalisques. But I just remember seeing the hand and seeing it as a simple form. So obviously, and his idea was do the great forms well. Our approach lends itself to that. So here again, we're talking about the various cubes and other kinds of forms all over the place out here. Great big rolling ones, little bitty things. Well, there's nothing much more to say there, but that's a beautiful picture, by the way. I didn't mean to take anything away from that one. But here again, you're back to that idea of these at the big flat. So if you just make sure you don't have the overall mass, you can have sort of odd blips and odd things as long as the overall mass maintains its consistency by value and doesn't do any sudden shifting. Then you'll have flat. But yeah, I think that should be self-evident to most people, but I thought it might be fun to look at Bricher. There's some very seriously flat water here, right? So if you were to erase this, and actually you can do that with some of these drawing tools, if you just were to take this line out of here, you'd see the underlying flat thing, and that this just simply sets in it. And that would be true of all these things. It is true that even when you're on the ocean, sometimes you get the feeling that the thing is going round, going up and over the backside. And that illusion of form, I shouldn't even call it an illusion. I mean, but it's just, you're sometimes simply more strongly aware of it. But that sensation isn't a bad thing, as long as you make sure that you move it at a rate that projects, that takes away the irregularities, would make it into a wobbly form and make the ocean into a busy thing in ways that it's not. Even the sand can be seen, by the way, as flat in this one. You see what I mean, relatively speaking. So there it is. That's the simple form discussion. Ask me some more questions when you see me, Norma. But I thought that was nice to have a chance to see a New Hampshire painter out of the Hudson River School group, the Luminous, if you haven't run into them before. Very exciting, very tempting to follow their lead. And a bunch of people do today and do some very fun things. I just have myself spent my life trying to maintain the pursuit of nature, the look of nature, and not follow a style at all, just simply to keep doing the look of nature. People will say, well, you do have that. You have the Boston School. But it's a coincidence, actually. It's just simply the most effective way I've found to reproduce the look of nature. And then I simply find my own inspirations. And one of the very next ones, I will talk about beauty as it relates to that, the beauty of nature versus the beauty of your, that you bring through your perceptions, through your interpretation, if you want to put it that way. But yeah, so Hudson River School, this guy was like 30 years earlier than the Boston School guys, a whole generation earlier. And so I do enjoy looking him up, and very strong, very impressive, real workman. Cool stuff. Thanks, Norma. See you all next time. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and all the rest, okay? Thank you.